Hello, I'm Jay Lewis. And, I just been looking at the pictures of Jesus and his 12 disciples, and the pictures of Buddha and his many disciples. And I wonder, what did these guys know that we didn't? What was the enlightenment behind them? Of course, there's the Buddha who talks about ourselves and how we are all Buddhas. And then there's Jesus, the one hold highly. And then we have the religions, Buddhism and Christianity. And we may get so caught up in, especially with Christianity, is that we get so caught up with the image of who this person was, and this immortal idolatry we have of Jesus and his many images across time and space, that we may end up forgetting what they were talking about, what both Jesus and Buddha were talking about. Because I'm sure they saw in their time, perhaps, someone who was being followed by many others, and they perhaps were following someone. Buddha states very clearly that he's not the first, and he's certainly not the last, and there will be many others before and after him. This is not so much what Jesus says, I am the Father and Son, but I really think that pulls away from what Jesus is really teaching, that in a way we should look at Jesus as we can all be a Jesus in our lives, as silly as that sounds. But we are all the protagonists, and we are all the ones on the cross, and we are the ones who have their friends, and then the friends who turn away, Paul turning away. And then we have these books about him and who he was, and just get so lost in the image that we forget what them two were saying. And they were saying things that are one and the same. The kingdom of heaven is here. The present moment's here. Do you not realize that if I called upon my Father, no less than 12 legions of angels will come? And but do you not realize that if you believe, you can achieve these things? I like to think that if Jesus and Buddha were touring the world right now, and they saw the images of what they both are, and how people look to them as a way of figuring things out, as a way of knowing. Let us know, Enlightened One. Let us know what it is. What do you know? I think they will laugh, because perhaps they knew the truth, that they knew nothing themselves, and that they too were just the same tourists walking along, that they too were facing just the same problems you and I were, trying to put all the pieces together. And sure, they maybe came out of it, and maybe there was an enlightenment, but how are we to know that for true? How are we to know what Jesus was talking about at all? Because it says so in the Bible? How do I know what Buddha was talking about? Because thousands of scriptures say he knew what he was talking about? And we just get so caught up in their images and what they stood for that we missed out on what they were saying. And they are saying the one and same thing, that life is uncertain, be free. They were both saying out positive messages of growing and moving up in our mind, because they knew, both of them understood that every thought is a prayer to God, And when you realize that every thought you have is a prayer, every thought may as well be a step towards your evolution. And they knew that along the way of this evolution, we're bound to get lost and we're bound to scurry around. We just gotta keep moving forward. And who knows, maybe there'll be a statue of them someday. But I like to think that if Jesus and Buddha were walking along this earth and they saw the images, maybe more so with Jesus, if he saw along that the kingdom is my Father's and how literal people have taken that, and but they totally missed out on the point that my Father is this universe all around us. The same way Buddha, I am one with the present. Embrace the moment, as it were. Now granted, with Jesus, there's been this turn towards him as being the Son of Man, and he died for our sins, and he saved the earth. And Buddha understanding that yes, there is enlightenment out there, but I like to think both of them were talking about the same thing. The enlightenment is here. The kingdom of my Father is here. If you believe you can achieve, do you not understand that my Father will send angels to my aid if he needs it? It's the way Jesus would speak in the Bible. But it's not really, the names are not what's important, but for what they stood for. The protagonists in our lives, the person we are holding up to understands looking for help. And we want to say there's a Jesus Christ in our lives, and we want to say Buddha's with us, and there's a Buddha in us. And we're all trying to find this enlightenment path, this secret of life. And I like to think that if you met both of them and you asked them about the secret of life and such, they'd probably have no clue. And they would say, I am just as scared. I am just as fearful, just as doubtful, and I too have my anxieties all the same as you. The only difference between me and you is that I continue forward and you stay here watching my trails. So please, if anyone tells you that there's a Jesus Christ in your life, please say yes, because there is. And it's not going to a church, and it's not in a book somewhere that's going to be the answers to realize that the hero of your story is you. And both of them understood this. Both of them were trying to figure out the mysteries of life. And both of them probably had no clue. They had no clue what to do. Jesus wandered the desert for how long? 40 days and 40 nights, and Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree for a lifetime. Both of them followed out the hermit monk into the cave. You know, this is the people coming up to the monk in the cave and asking, "Oh, great monk, why do you live in this cave?" And the monk saying, "'Cause I never went to venture forward anymore. 'Cause I got nowhere else to live. 'Cause I don't know. I don't know. I don't have the answers to life. I don't have all the solutions. It's not gonna be handed to you on a timbo wrapped up. It's not gonna be through some water that we put in a ritual, and some hymns we sing, or just sitting here quiet. The secret is to embrace life and then to go and do what you want to do. And just go for it. And whatever hinders you, whatever is stopping you, I pray you do not stop. Because the only real time we stop doing something, the only time we actually stop, is when we stop thinking about up here. When we start thinking that it can block us. We're thinking of all these anxieties, all these problems. When really, Buddha and Jesus knew not to focus on the problems, but to just keep searching for a solution. And maybe Jesus did really talk to God, and maybe he really was a son, man. Who can say for sure? But they were both just as scared, and just as lost as you and I are. And maybe they didn't actually have enlightenment, but people saw them laughing and crying at the sky because they realized that what was in front of them was nothing, and that is from which they can create. That is an uncertain future ahead of them. That is the enlightenment. That is the dying on the cross and the resurrecting in 3 days. We like to fancy it up as they died for our sins and such, but really, I think we missed the entire point of what Jesus is trying to do. And he was trying to show us that we are all suffering, and we are all crying, and the same reason that you cry, and that you wail, and you ask for help, is the same reason I cry, and I wail, the same reason as anyone else is. And Jesus and Buddha just want to let you guys know that it's okay. It's okay. So what if you're uncertain? Just keep going. Keep going and don't linger. Because every thought you have is a prayer towards your Father. Every thought you have brings you towards your evolutionary process. Your mind is evolving with every single thought you have. With a life that is so rare and so precious. And then Jesus and Buddha were the ones who stopped screaming and ranting on the streets. Because they knew why. They knew why people were suffering. They knew it was all wrapped up in their heads. It's okay. It's okay. The end, maybe Jesus and Buddha did not know what was going to happen. Well, you have the stories of Jesus and like that, but how did you really know the man? He was probably just as scared and worrisome and anxious and as brave and as thoughtful and as shallow as we all are. So, from Jesus to Buddha to me, to anyone who's listening out there, it's okay. It's all okay. Your thoughts have an evolutionary process for what you think and will happen. So guide it and cherish it.